Hi everyone. So today we're going to have a discussion about how to resolve circular dependencies in your C++ projects. Now, as we know that in real life, a software it is not just a single file, but it could consist of several modules that can implement specific functionalities and they can be developed and maintained independently. Now, at times, it could happen like this, suppose this M1 module, it has to depend on this M2 module in order to work properly. I mean, it could be implementing some functions that require some utility functions from this module, or it could happen that this M2 module might be depending on this M4 module. Now, at times, this interdependency of modules, it could lead to several problems, which is the ultimate discussion of our video. So today we're going to answer some of the basic questions related to circular dependency. S- like, what is a circular dependency? Why can't we just not include two objects of different classes in their definitions, which we'll see in a moment? How to resolve circular dependencies using forward declaration? What does a compiler look for while parsing a class definition? When exactly do we need to include header files of another class? In order to simplify our discussion, we can assume that our software, it is consisting of a final executable file, which is formed by compiling and linking several CPP files, where each CPP file, it might contain a specific class in an object-oriented fashion to represent a specific functionality in the system. Now let us assume there are two modules represented by a.h and b.h. These are two header files representing two different classes. Now let us look through the definition of this class A. Well, we see that it contains an object B, which is defined in this header class in this b.h file. So it is kind of dependent on this b.h file. Okay. Now, when we come through definition of this B class, we find out that it is also dependent on the class A, which is containing the object of A. So here an interdependency among these modules is created, which is known as the cyclic dependency in C++ classes. Now, whenever a compiler encounters such kind of a situation, then it will simply throw an error, because once it starts parsing these files, then it will simply not know where to start, because you can see, right, that here one object is created, and one object, it is dependent, one class, it is dependent on another object whose class is also dependent on the same object. So in that situation, compiler will simply throw an error. So how do you resolve it? So this is how we solve the problem of circular dependencies, where we make use of forward declaration of classes, which is a feature provided by C++. It is similar to the function declaration that we use, where we let the compiler know that such a class or function, it already exists somewhere in the code, and we can just use that object or function in our class like that. So you might wonder that there are two things that are missing. Well, we first of all, we have removed the header file of A from B and vice versa, and also we have replaced the objects by their pointers. Now let us arrive at the second question first. Why did we have to replace the object by their pointers? So first of all, we need to understand how a compiler parses a class. Well, whenever a compiler parses a class, it just checks how much size this class will occupy. Well, if we do not replace this object by its pointer, then what will happen is it will again fall into an infinite loop, because now the it will check the size occupied by B in order to definitely calculate the size occupied by this A class. It will then go to B, and then again it will go to A, So it will fall into an infinite loop. Now, what is the deal with the pointers? The pointers, they have a fixed size. I mean, depending on the operating system, they they are basically integers, right? So the compiler, it can deal with that. It just needed to deal with this symbol, and which has been dealt with the help of this forward declaration of this class. And coming back to why did we have to remove the header files? Well, if you think about it, the problem will repeat itself if we include the header files. So you might wonder, if we are not able to include the header file, then how will we be able to use the member functions in this in these two files? Well, the solution lies in segregating the header files from the CPP files. And let me show you a real life example of how you can deal with this. So let us assume there is some kind of software which deals with a person and an address class, and these two objects, they are self-explanatory by their names. And there is some kind of a design problem that we are facing, that this address, it needs to store the person's info, and this person, it needs to store the address info. So definitely here we have a circular dependency problem, which is handled gracefully with the help of forward declaration of a class and making use of pointers to that specific class. Now, you might wonder, like, let us say I need to make use of this person class. I need to make use of one of the member functions of this person. How do you use it? Well, first of all, we need to segregate the interface from the actual implementation. So we have a header file of address, and we have a CPP file. Now here you have no problem in including the person class. Why? Because now the compiler already knows that such kind of an address class, it already exists. Here person, it is just a pointer. So it also knows that the what is the after passing of the class, what is the exact size this class will occupy. So the compiler's work is done here. Now when it will reach this code, now it needs to know what exactly this member function is. Now we need to include the header class. Now since it has already been declared, so now this won't create any compiler issues. So this is how you implement the member functions. This is how you call the data members of the other object that you are using, by segregating the interface from the actual implementation. And similar things, you can do it for the person class as well. So this is how we deal with circular dependency. We we do not include the header files in the header file of this, because definitely it will, once you'll include the header file of this address in this person, like, so what will happen is that the problem will be created again, because there will be two classes at the same time, and they both will be asking for they both will be containing the objects of their of each other. So definitely no need to include the header file. Just do forward declaration. Whenever implementing it, just create a different CPP file and just include that header file. Now since its blueprint has already been created, it won't make any problems. So this is about the circular dependency and how do you manage with the help of forward declaration. Thank you. Bear with me, don't gotta worry for the both of us.